Join myself and my best mate Bruce as we travel through the Flinders Ranges in lovely South Australia. We'll be staying at Wilpena Pound in the Ikara Flinders Ranges National Park and travelling around for a few days. So please sit down and join us. The Flinders Ranges are the largest mountain range in South Australia and start approximately 200 kilometres north of Adelaide. We shall drive this distance and head up to Wilpena Pound, which is the characteristic landmark of the Flinders Ranges. We're not in a hurry and take our time travelling through to the Flinders Ranges. We call into Tarawi, a historic town formerly of about 2,000 people and now about 120 people, but it still keeps a fantastic historic atmosphere. About 25 kilometres on from Tarawi, we stop at a small town called Peterborough, where we stop at the local takeaway and fish cafe, grab a bite to eat, a coffee, and have a bit of a look around the town, which is beautiful but naturally very quiet, and then we prepare to head on to our next group of towns before we get to the Flinders Ranges. Hooray! We finally arrive at the Wilpena Pound Resort in the lovely Flinders Ranges after hours of travelling. It's about 3 o'clock, so we get ourselves booked in and settled into our accommodation. Our room is basic and fits 3 people maximum, but it's exactly what we need. It's clean, it's comfortable, so we're happy. We're up early the next morning, shower and head over for some breakfast at the cafe and bistro. Just a word of advice. The resort rooms do not have Wi-Fi, but it is freely available in the cafe bar area. Also too, the Telstra mobile network is the only network to cover the Wilpena Pound area. So if you have a Telstra account or an affiliate of Telstra, you can use your normal phone calls and data. Many of the roads in the Flinders Ranges are unsealed, which means they're dirt roads. So at this stage we're travelling on Flinders Ranges Way, which is a sealed road, and then we'll take various side roads, and in this case we're heading towards Bratchina Gorge, where we'll travel on the Bratchina Gorge Road, which loosely follows the Bratchina Gorge itself. As we arrive into the gorge, we are noticing more and more water, which is not unusual because it's spring and there have been winter rains. During winter, many parts of Bratchina Gorge and indeed other gorges are impassable due to heavy amounts of rainwater creating pools and rivers. We continue on through the gorge and eventually leave it, and then head off to our next destination. As we continue our day, we call into Razorback Lookout, where we run into some other tourists that we've met before at some other sites, and we have a good look around. As we continue on our journey, we come across the grave of a small child, Emma Smith, who passed away around 1860 at 2 years old. It appears as that her and her parents were transporting copper from Blenheim to Port Augusta. It's getting later in the day and we decide to head back to the Wilpena Pound Resort and a hard-earned gin and tonic. On the way, we can't help but stop past a feature called the Great Wall of China, which is a large hill and rocky outcrop. Personally, we'd rather see it named something Australian like the Great Wall of Flinders. However, that's not our choice. It wasn't long after we arrived that we were joined by some more tourists, and unsurprisingly it was our friends from Wilpena Pound Resort and the Razorback Lookout from earlier. We had mentioned to them that we were going to this site, so we all joined up and had a bit of a look around. With that gin and tonic becoming more and more appealing, we bid goodbye to our Wilpena Pound Resort friends and head back to our accommodation. Next morning we're up early, get ourselves ready, have some breakfast, and then back onto the road to have a look at more sights around the Flinders Ranges. On our travels we see a sign saying Wilpena Gorge, and not having been there we thought why not, so we headed off there to check it out. Not sure what to expect, we headed down some dirt roads and a couple of tricky spots as we're not in a four-wheel drive, just a normal sedan vehicle. And being the intrepid travellers we are, it's not long till we get to the Wilpena Gorge and we stop and have a look around. We look around Wilpena a little more and then head off because we're going to join up with our tourist friends Glenn and Nigel at Ikara Station ruins and have a bit of a look around there. As we're heading towards Ikara, the weather takes a bit of a turn for the worst and a little bit wetter, but it doesn't matter. We'll catch up with the boys when we get there. Ikara Station was established by Hugh Proby in 1852 as a sheep and cattle station. Proby emigrated from Lincolnshire, England in 1851 and opened the station in 1852. It's quite ironic because the Flinders Ranges is very dry country, so Proby was actually drowned when he was crossing the Wallachra River on his horse and he was swept away. The weather's been pretty good this whole Flinders Ranges trip, but in this particular site the rain has been on and off and fairly heavy, so every now and then we've had to duck for cover wherever we can. Whilst at Ikara Station, our tourist friends have let us know that they've moved into their new accommodation at Rawnsley Park Station and invited us back to check it out. On the way to Rawnsley Park, we stop at a lookout and are constantly amazed at the diversity and features of the Flinders Ranges. After much ado, we get to Rawnsley Park Station and the boys, Glenn and Nigel, set about finding their accommodation, and once that's done, we can have a bit of a look around. Glenn and Nigel chose the mid-price cabins in Rawnsley Park, and they're equipped with just about everything. There's me looking a bit lazy after I checked out the rest of their accommodation. When you look out the windows, you have a fantastic view of one of the sides of Wilpena Pound. And if you've got kids, there's a little pony that walks around the park, usually in the morning and in the evenings, and you can feed it carrots and, well, whatever else ponies eat. I tried to give it spinach leaves, but it wouldn't eat it. Anyway, it's a great attraction. The boys get settled into their accommodation, and then we all hop into the one vehicle, which makes things a lot easier, and then head out to explore some of the local gorges, and also we're hoping to get to Parachilna. Whilst we're driving around, we come across some yellow-footed rock wallabies, which are an endangered species, and sadly they often fall prey to foxes and feral cats. And just around the corner, we come across a family of emus and their baby emus. in a little while we arrive at Parachilna, where nowadays it's quite often a stopping point for tourists and truckers who want to grab a bite to eat at the Prairie Hotel and have a bit of a look around the site. You can also stay there as well. There is accommodation. Once we had a beautiful meal, we then had a bit of a look around at the sites. There's lots to see over near the railway line and some great photography. With the day getting on and a fair distance to drive, we start heading back to our accommodation. On the way back, we see this large grassed area and a small lake, and we stop to have a look, and it's absolutely fantastic. And not only that, we see a mother emu and her chicks taking a drink in the lake. It was a bit too far to video, but we got some good shots on our camera. For Bruce and myself, this is our last day that we'll spend in the Flinders Ranges, so we've arranged to have a bite to eat with Glenn and Nigel at the Woolshed restaurant at Rawnsley Park Station, and then we'll head back to our accommodation to pack up in readiness to leave tomorrow. We hope you've enjoyed our video adventure in the Flinders Ranges, and please don't forget to press like and subscribe to our channel for further information.